Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Yasemin Congar, who is a journalist who has worked at many of the major news outlets around the world, BBC, CNN Turk, Cumhuriyet at the time when Hassan Jamal was editor, and today is one of the founding members of the independent media platform P24 in Istanbul. Yasemin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking about Hrant Dink's assassination and its impact on society in Turkey, journalists specifically. Tell us how you fit in. Where were you when he was assassinated in 2007?
I can't believe it's been 7 years. It's still so fresh. When Hrant Dink was killed, I was working for Milliyet as their Washington correspondent at the time. And of course, it was such a sad moment. But I must say, it wasn't only a sad moment. It has been sad years ever since, because we still don't have a resolution to his assassination. And although the first impact, with so many people coming together on the streets of Istanbul, calling "Happy Miss Hrant Dink" is, we are all Hrant Dink, that was very powerful and kind of optimistic in a way. But it just stayed there. Although the crowds are still here, Hrant's friends are still trying. There are still several people who go to the, court every time there is a trial. There is not a resolution. There is not, there are so many clues to what might have happened if the state was a little more diligent, or at least was really trying to save his life. And it's so clear that they were not. So it's a very sad thing. And on a personal level, I think the impact on me was to really lose all trust in the Turkish system and the mainstream media at the time, which I used to work for. And actually soon after Hrant's assassination, I quit my job at Milliyet and came back to Turkey to try to start something new, and a new newspaper, Taraf. And I worked for them for 5 years. And I remember, like, every other week, perhaps, we would have a story about, the assassination and the trial and
Let's talk about that, because you are talking about how the system and the legal resolution is still not there. On the other hand, is it fair to say that as far as the media goes, that the context and the coverage of the Hrant issues, Hrant as well as the issues he raised, that's changed?
Of course, so many things have changed, and I mentioned the newspaper we founded 7 years ago. At the end of 2007, Taraf, and we were one of the first ones, I think, which called, what happened in 1915 a genocide, at a huge, front page splash on the newspaper. And of course, Hassan Jamal's book came out, and the Armenian issue is not a taboo anymore. And as you very well know, on the 24th of April every year, many people, many of us gather in Taksim and other places to commemorate the day and the genocide. But it's not enough. Turkish people have made progress and are now more open to discussing this issue and are kind of coming to terms with what has happened, really. But I don't see the same coming from the Turkish government or Turkish system in general. We have Prime Minister Erdogan's comments just from yesterday that, yes, they would fight, this issue to the end next year, in the centennial.
The sentence that you just said, that things have changed in Turkish society but not in the Turkish government, when an Armenian says that, the answer frequently by another Armenian will be that things have changed in some small segment of Turkish society. What do you say to that?
Well, change always begins in small segments, and of course it is a small segment, but I have seen the crowds on, April 24th. I read the press, and I know that segment is not necessarily very homogeneous anymore. There are different parts of the society, small crowd, if you will, and this is how it starts. There will be one book out, and then there will be more books, more translations, perhaps. There will be one newspaper, and then there will be more. At the moment in Turkey, we are really going through a very, very difficult time. It's not even a crisis anymore. I think it's a complete chaos in government and with corruption scandal and how the prime minister chose to handle that. But I also see a kind of a line of progress, as I said, in Turkish society, and I think more and more people are aware. 10 years ago, if you said Armenian genocide, first of all, you would probably be imprisoned right away. But I mean, many people would just think you were just making something up, Now there are so many more people who I think have read, discussed, and are also, researching more and more, looking more and more into, what has happened. More people, and not only from a very small segment of society, from everywhere in Anatolia, are discovering their own roots, are coming to terms with their own Armenianness, which they didn't even know about, until very recently. They were, raised as Muslims or Alawites, and then all of a sudden, like it happened to a very close friend of mine, his dying mother, in her deathbed at the age of 90, just revealed to his son that they were Armenian. So this is happening, So the society is not only a small elite is changing, people are coming to terms with their own roots and with the history of this land we live on.
Thank you. Thank you, Yasemin Congar, a journalist from Istanbul. We're speaking on the anniversary of Hrant Dink's assassination, and there is clearly a lot to talk about, both on this anniversary every year and, of course, in the run-up to the 2015 commemorations. Thank you for joining us on CivilNet.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for following us on CivilNet.